Hello again, how are you doing today? My name is John Cherry, and I want to welcome you back to this tutorial series. And we're actually going to jump right into state management with ViewState. That's the first thing we're going to look at. And remember, ViewState is storing your server controls or information about your server controls on the client side. So that's something to keep in mind. But it can be a nice tool if it's managed correctly to be able to persist data between the page request and a lot of different items that you can actually persist in it and then actually pull that information into SQL itself. Now people will say, well, that's not the most optimal because view state is on the client and it can be exposed or decrypted. But there's even something in ASP.NET Web Forms that gives you automatic encryption mode. But let's go into it and see how to use view state. So in this case, let's go right here. I have it in Lesson 3 State Management. Let's add a new web form. Let's go new item first. I want to do this. So we go add new item. We're going to go to web form and we're going to select a master page and let's go state management. Right? And then let's do that. Now let's look at our page. First, see if we have anything in our page. Well, we have our nav bar, as you can see right here, going back into those items there. We have our nav bar, so we have some basic things implemented there. But that's not the key, so let's get out of here. And what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to put a label here. So either I can go to the Server Explorer. Let's go right here to our toolbox. We can drag on a control. But sometimes you just want to type it, so let's do an ASP. Let's do a label control. Let's give it that run at server tag for it to run on the server side. Let's give it an ID. And let's make it view state control. View state control, just to give it a name. And then let's close the tag. Here we go. And I want you to see that these properties associated with the server control, you have CSS class, you have a few other items associated. You can set the enable view state for each item. You can set it to false or true, but in this case, the default is true. But you can set it to false, and I will show you that later, that when you set it to false, this typically won't work. So let's go here, and it stores the view state information about that server control. So now that we have our server control, let's go to our code behind file and let's just roll it in the page load. So what we'll do is we'll say view state, and we're going to create a little variable with view state here, and let's call it hello. Let's say first view state. Right? And before I do that, I actually just want to create a variable. Let's create an integer count, right? Equals 15, right? And then I want to set the view state variable to count, right? So what do we got there? We have put in our view state the variable count, and there it is. So now what we can do, let's just keep that as it is, right? Let's go back here and let's create, and before that, let's actually set it to the label, right? Let's go ahead and set view state dot, no, not count, view state. Let's see if it picks up our server control. Let's see the name here. Let's make it there, and let's create view state dot text, which is for the ASP label control, and let's set it to view state here, and let's see if it retrieves that information. And now of course we're going to make this to toString because the control is rendering a string property, and that if you don't put the toString on it, your integer value count is being set there, so you have to parse the integer into a toString. So let's go ahead and run that. Let's go right on our page and let's click view in browser and let's see. Okay, what we always have problems with is because we have that item, we have to put some padding at the top. So let's go here. Let's make a div. Let's do a style, just an inline style. And let's set a margin top to 25%. Right? Let's see if that renders right. Go back to our page. Right there. So what is our count? Now, of course, it doesn't look great, but let's see what we got here. If we go back here, we have a ViewState item here, right? We set it to integer to 15. We have an integer count. We set it in the ViewState here. And then we set our text control .text, our server control, and we're pulling that ViewState item. So if we look at this page, let's look what we got here. We have our ViewState right here. This is one item right here that we're pulling. So we have our ViewState item right here, and it's being serialized and run. And now let's go back here. A nice little tool you have, you can go in the page directive and you can view state and you can encrypt it. Now you want to be very careful with encrypting your view state because it does have a performance issue. So let's go back to our browser. Let's refresh this. Typically sometimes you want to recompile it, but let's just see. So we have it hidden, but let's actually recompile this thing. So let's rebuild our solution. And NuGet Package Manager is updating everything. So we're rebuilding our website. And then let's go back, view in browser. And let's see, we still got that 15 being pulled. And our view state is being encrypted. So right here you'll see the value view state encrypted. If you're doing a little bit amount of data, you can encrypt the view state, which is a nice little tool in ASP.NET Web Forms. So let's do one step further. Let's create a button. Run it. Server. Right? And then let's put a CSS class. Button primary. We're using a little Bootstrap just to give it a little design. Let's put a danger. Right? Let's see what this renders as. And we got something there. So then let's go back and let's put text submit. See what this looks like. So once we have that set, continue. We have our submit button right there, right? So now what I want to do is not with the page load, I want to create an event that pulls it, because typically this is what you're going to do if you want to pull information between the view state. On click, let's create an event. It's on name clicked. We'll go in our code behind. It automatically creates it. So right there, we have it. So let's go back here, put that right there. Now we have it there. See if we refresh the page, because it still enables that view state. So let's rebuild this. Let's rebuild our app, build website, right? Go back here, view in browser. Excuse me. We go back here, view in browser. So we don't have the 15 there, right? We're not seeing it. But look what happened. Automatically when I clicked that, look what it did. So I'm going to go back and do that again. Let's view in browser again. So we have it there. 15. Bam. That's the nice thing about view state, and in this case, remember, it's encrypted. It's encrypting the view state for us, so it has some built-in security. But typically, you don't want to put any sensitive information in the view state. So this is a tutorial on view state. We'll look at some other techniques for managing client-side state management. I want to thank you for joining me in this tutorial series, and have a nice day.